All right, so ever, like, catch yourself daydreaming about just chucking it all and living a totally different life, you know? Like trading the daily grind for something a little unconventional.
Yeah, yeah.
We're about to dive into one of those stories. Someone who decided, normal wasn't quite their speed, and they chose to, get this, live on a narrow boat in England.
Of all things.
Yeah. So grab your, I guess, metaphorical life vest as we unpack this blog post, aptly titled, Why Did We Choose Narrowboat Life?
And that's the question, isn't it? Like, it's easy to romanticize, alternative lifestyles and all that.
Mm.
But what's the deeper why behind a choice like this? What makes someone trade, I don't know, brick and mortar for a floating home on the canals of England?
Right. Especially because for this couple, it wasn't even some lifelong dream. They were living in Venice Beach, California, but they craved movement. Like they actually met while they were traveling the world. They sold most of their belongings just to embrace like a nomadic lifestyle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which makes their eventual choice even more intriguing, right? Because, I mean, they were already living a pretty minimalist lifestyle. They already proved to themselves that experiences mattered more than possessions, I guess. So choosing narrowboat life wasn't about escaping material clutter or anything. It was about like aligning their external environment with this like internal compass they'd already, established.
Yeah, and okay, so Wanderlust, clearly in their DNA, but why narrowboats?
Yeah.
And why England? It seems it all started with a passport dilemma. They
Yeah.
needed a shared home base to build their future together.
Of course.
But where?
Right, and this is where I think their experiences, especially in America, really come into play. The blog author describes this sense of unease they felt, especially amidst the political climate at the time. There's this like vivid image of them on the Santa Monica Pier on election night in 2016. The Ferris wheel is all aglow in red, white, and blue, but instead of like celebration, this feeling of eerie doom is just kind of hanging in the air.
Wow, not exactly the celebratory atmosphere you'd expect.
No, not at all.
No wonder they started looking elsewhere.
Exactly. And Canada, despite family ties, wasn't the answer either, because the author's partner had lived there before and wasn't really keen on returning, at least to that, particular region. It seemed their wanderlust had some boundaries, even if they were self-imposed.
Yeah, I guess so. So America and Canada are off the table. And suddenly, England enters the picture.
Yeah.
But why not just settle there like a normal couple?
Right. And that's where this, like, almost random comment about narrow boats comes in. It wasn't a lifelong dream or anything, more like, a seed planted in passing, I guess, by the author's partner.
Oh, yeah,
But,
yeah.
but remember, they were already primed for an unconventional life.
They were practically begging for it, and they dove headfirst into researching this whole narrowboat thing, this new possibility. The blog post even lists the YouTubers that they binged. Dan Brown, Cruising the Cut, Milo, Robbie Cumming. Oh, wow.
Real people sharing their narrowboat adventures. You can practically hear the algorithms kicking in, drawing them deeper and deeper into this world.
It's like their desire for exploration, for something different, just found a new channel. Quite literally. And remember, neither of them had like expensive boating experience or anything.
Right.
This wasn't about fulfilling some childhood fantasy. This was discovering a whole new way of life.
Yeah, totally. And England's network of interconnected waterways, over 2,000 miles worth, provided the perfect, I don't know, playground for their wanderlust.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
were they really going to go through with this? Trading, I don't know, California sunshine for British canals.
Right. That's
It's a big leap. Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about their story, because even as they were planning this whole move, there's this sense of like, what if, mixed with this, pragmatism.
Yeah.
They kept saying, oh, we'll figure out something more, sensible eventually. But then they started creating these like detailed wish lists for their future narrowboat, layouts, features, everything.
Totally.
Like their subconscious was like taking over, turning what if into when we do this.
Wow. They were manifesting their dreams.
Yeah.
And this is all while already embracing a minimalist lifestyle, which I'm sure raised a few eyebrows among the families.
No, I bet. And I think here we see a common thread in those who choose these, alternative lifestyles, this questioning of what's truly sensible, because they were already living with, relatively few possessions. They'd already demonstrated to themselves that happiness, like genuine happiness, didn't come from material things. So why not apply that same philosophy to their actual living situation, right? their minimalist mindset became like this foundation for embracing a life less ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So they've got the travel bug, they've got this minimalist ethos, really humming, and
Yep.
they've got England and narrowboats in their sights. But before we jump across the pond with them, let's take a quick pause. When we come back, we'll uncover how they actually made this whole narrowboat dream a reality. Okay, and we're back. Picking up our deep dive into this couple's journey to narrowboat life, we've seen the wanderlust, we've seen the minimalist streak, and now we find them on the cusp of like a major life change. England, here they come.
Right.
But remember, this wasn't just about moving to a new country. It was about like embracing a whole new way of being.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so compelling about their story. They land in England January 2017 with this dream in tow, but they couldn't just like dive headfirst into narrowboat life. They still had, the practicalities of immigration to contend with,
Yeah.
which meant staying put in the UK for 5 years with, limited travel abroad.
Oh, wow. So their wanderlust was about to be put to the test.
Well, yeah. Imagine like having that desire for constant exploration, but being, kind of tethered to one place. Talk about juxtaposition.
Exactly. And that's where I think their perspective takes like a really interesting turn, because instead of seeing it as this like limitation, they viewed those 5 years as an opportunity to truly like delve into the world of English waterways. They set this goal to navigate, get this, every possible length of canal, to pass under every bridge, to go through every working lock.
Wow. It's like their wanderlust found like a hyper-specific outlet.
They really did.
Over 2,000 miles of canals to explore, each with like its own rhythm, its own scenery.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. They weren't just like living on a boat. They were like truly immersing themselves in a whole new world. And this is where I think their initial estimate, this idea of like a 2-year journey, really takes a backseat to reality.
Right.
Because what they discover is that like narrowboat life isn't just about, ticking off destinations on a list.
Right.
It's about embracing the unexpected detours along the way.
Which, let's be honest, is a perfect metaphor for life itself.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's talk about those detours. They mentioned in the blog post that their 2-year plan turned into a 5-year odyssey. So, like, what changed?
Well, I think, for one thing, living on a boat is just this constant exercise in adaptation.
Yeah.
They had to learn how to like actually navigate the canals, how to maintain their floating home, how to deal with the unpredictable British weather. It wasn't all romantic sunsets and picturesque villages.
Right. Even adventures have their share of challenges. But it sounds like they took it all in stride.
Oh yeah.
In fact, they seem to like really relish the unexpected turns, the problem solving, the constant learning curve.
And I think that's a really, really key insight into their mindset. Because they weren't just looking for a change of scenery.
All right.
They were seeking out like a life that challenged their assumptions, that pushed their boundaries, that forced them to grow.
And this is where that initial desire for like a different kind of life comes full circle.
Exactly.
They weren't content with like the traditional path, the expected trajectory.
Yeah.
They craved something more, something that like truly resonated with their core values, and they found it not in a destination, but in a journey.
Yeah, and it's a journey that I think speaks to this growing sentiment, wouldn't you say? This idea that maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than the prescribed path, than what's expected of us.
Oh, absolutely. And as we've seen, choosing an alternative lifestyle like this isn't always easy.
Yeah.
But it can be incredibly rewarding. But before we get like too philosophical, let's take a moment to like really reflect on their journey so far.
Yeah.
From a passport dilemma to a 5-year odyssey on the canals of England, it's been quite a ride. When we return, we'll delve into like the lessons learned, the unexpected joys, the moments that really tested their resolve. Stay with us. And we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into this whole world of narrowboat living with, I think, like a pretty fundamental question. Was it all worth it? We followed this couple's journey from like California dreams to navigating the canals of England.
Right.
They traded, sunshine for the charm of the English countryside.
Yeah.
Traded like a predictable life for the unknown. But did they actually find what they were looking for?
It's the question that lingers, right? And thankfully, our blogger offers us a little glimpse into their reflections.
Yeah.
They talk about stumbling upon these hidden corners of England that they never would have encountered otherwise. Experiencing the beauty of nature, the rhythm of the waterways in a way that traditional travel, wouldn't have allowed.
Yeah, it's like the slow pace of the canals provided this whole new lens for them to see not just the English countryside, but like themselves.
Absolutely.
And speaking of unique perspectives, they mentioned this unexpected community they discovered along the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's this one line in the blog post that talks about like the warmth of, returning to a cozy boat after a long day of navigating Lochs End, like the dead of winter, surrounded by these fellow boaters, these people who just understood the unique challenges and triumphs of this lifestyle. And I think that sense of camaraderie, that feeling of finding your people in the most unexpected of places, it speaks volumes.
It really does. It highlights how sometimes choosing, a different path, it leads you to exactly where you need to be, surrounded by people who get it, who celebrate your choice, to embrace the unconventional.
100%.
But let's be real, it wasn't all, idyllic scenery and heartwarming encounters.
Right. Even the most idyllic settings come with their share of, realities.
Yeah.
And they do acknowledge, the challenges, what they kind of jokingly call the shores of narrowboat life.
Yeah.
Constantly having to move their home, finding new moorings, that dance, tackling these unexpected repairs. It was a constant exercise in adaptation and resourcefulness.
Proving that even, quote unquote dream lifestyles require a little bit of elbow grease.
5%, yeah.
But here's a line from the blog post that really resonated with me. They said, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, they said the good and the bad, it was all worthwhile, because ultimately they got to keep moving, to experience that freedom and exploration they craved so much.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful realization, isn't it?
Yeah.
To look back on a journey with all of its ups and downs, its unexpected detours and moments of pure joy.
Right.
And to just say, yes, it was worth it. I mean, it really challenges us to examine our own definitions of, worthwhile.
It really does. It makes you wonder, what unconventional path might be waiting for us. What dream have we been putting off because it seems, I don't know, too impractical or too different.
Right.
Maybe. Just maybe. It's time to take a page from this couple's book and just take the leap.
Yeah.
To embrace a little bit of that wanderlust, that desire for something more than just the ordinary. You never know what you might discover.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll be depth diving into your story here on the Deep Dive.
I'd love that.
Thanks for joining us.